The year I turned 22 years old, I made my first $1 million in the bank after tax, and it's because of these 11 mindset shifts that I followed. So let's jump into the first one. Don't take business advice from someone who is not making the income that you want to make. I'll tell you, the very first time I invested into business coaching, I was 20 years old. I had a part-time job. I was working on an ambulance as an emergency medical technician, an EMT, in college. In my freshman year, I did that. And I made about $7,000. And I took about half of that, about $3,500, and I invested that into a business coach that I met, I found actually online on YouTube, funny enough. And the moment I told my parents, they freaked out and they said, "What did you do? Oh my gosh, you just used half the money that you just made for your part-time job. It's a scam. And they were freaking out. And I remember thinking, Mom, Dad, you don't even have context. I haven't even told you what it was on. It was an e-com coaching, because back then I was trying to build an e-commerce dropshipping business. But that's what I'm trying to say to you. The people around you, if you're anything like me, I did not grow up in a wealthy environment. My parents are engineers, $70,000 a year, $80,000 a year, upper middle class, whatever you want to call it. And if you don't have a wealthy mindset, then you don't even understand the concept of investing into your education outside of traditional school, right? So chances are the people around you are not wealthy. And so therefore you should not be taking advice from them. And the second line I really want you to emphasize here is also, don't take advice from people who make more than you. So currently right now they make more than you, but they still don't have the life that you want. So what I mean by that is right now, let's say you're making no money online. Okay, you don't have a business, and you have a friend who's making $100,000 a year, right? Maybe he's a salesman at a company, maybe he's working a tech job, maybe he's a computer scientist, graduated with a computer science degree, and they're making $120,000 a year. If that's not what you want to make 10 years from now, then you also shouldn't be taking advice from that person. Because that person, might be making $100,000 a year, but that person might be capped at 100, 120, 150 a year for the rest of their life, because that's just the growth opportunity that they have. And if you don't want to make their cap 10 years from now, then also don't take advice from that person. Does that make sense? So the second thing I want to teach you here is very related to the first one, but this one's even more personal and emotional and hard to accept, which is you don't want to take advice from the people that are closest to you, that love you the most when it comes to money, okay? And yes, I'm talking about your wife. I'm talking about your husband. I'm talking about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your roommates, your best friend from college, your coworker, your neighbor, whoever, your pastor, whoever it is that is intimately close to you and genuinely cares for you, you have to stop taking financial advice from them, okay? This was the mistake that almost cost me $20 million, okay? Because currently at age 26, my companies have collectively done over $24 million. It was my mom and my dad. Because at the very beginning, when I told them that I wanted to start a business, they instantly went, "Why don't you just continue down the medical path?" I was studying biology to become a doctor, go to medical school. They were not supportive. They did not understand the dreams and the vision that I had for myself. And this is also really common with your significant other, if you have one, right? I need to talk to my wife, my husband, before I can start this business. Whenever I hear this, the first thing that I think of is, well, what do you think they're going to say? If you talk to your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiance, your best friend from college, whoever that person is that loves you, ask yourself, I always future pace, meaning fast forward a couple minutes into that conversation and think about how that conversation is going to happen. Okay, so if I tell my wife I need to talk to them first, talk to my significant other, what are they going to say? Well, they're probably going to be super unsupportive, super concerned, very worried, not trusting at all. And then I'm going to think to myself, and this is what I typically ask my mentees, and how do you think that's going to make you feel? When you already want to do this business, when you already want to start becoming an entrepreneur and taking the steps to doing so, and then the person that loves you so much tells you to do it, or they're just concerned and worried, how do you think that's going to make you feel? Well, it's probably going to make you second guess your decision and make you feel even worse about your decision. And so therefore, what's the point of having a conversation if you know, future pace, you already know how that conversation is going to happen with your parents, with your significant other. How do you think that conversation is going to be? They're not going to be supportive. And so are you just going to make that decision right now, that you're just never going to build a business and you're never going to do it for them? The thing that you need to do for them is the exact thing that they don't want you to do. And that's something that they won't understand until, listen closely, you show them results. You show them results. And so when my parents freaked out when I said that I wanted to build an online business, I told them, Mom, Dad, I know you don't trust me right now and you think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you respectfully, and I respect you guys so much. I have a great relationship with my parents, and I did it back then. So I respect you guys so much, and I'm so thankful for everything you've done for me. You've put me through school. We're taking on student debt just so I can go to UCLA and study. But right now, I have to trust my gut because I believe that God has a different plan for my life. I believe that this is something I'm meant to do. And if you support me, I'm thankful. If you don't support me, I'm still doing it. And that's not disobedient to you guys. That's not a disrespect to you, loved one. It's the fact that I genuinely believe that this is what's going to change your family's life forever, right? And so I've even created a framework, a mental framework of if you already know that that person is going to just criticize you and freak out, this is it. Loved one, so insert wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, I know all you want to do is protect me so I don't get hurt. But the one thing I need you to do right now is to trust me that I know what I'm doing. Because even if worst case, I always like to think worst case, best case. The worst case situation is I don't make a single dollar from starting a business. But I would have gained real skills from this. I would have gained character traits of grit, persistence, risk-taking, confidence. And if that's the worst thing that can happen, then fine, I'll go drive Uber, I'll go wait tables at the local restaurant, I'll go to my 9-to-5 job and save a couple months and then back to where I was. That's the worst thing that could happen. If that's the worst thing that could happen, man, I'll take that bet every day. Because what's the best thing that could happen? The best thing that could happen is I make my first 1,000 online. Is in the next couple of months, I get to 5K per month. I get to 10K per month. I quit my 9-to-5 job. I go all in on this business. That business goes to 20, 30, 50, $100,000 a month. That's the best case situation. Now for me, I'm not counting on either. I don't think I'm going to fall in the worst case category. I don't think it's going to be the best case category. So if I land somewhere in the middle, would that be the end of the world? And so, loved one, I'm moving forward without your support. I would love your support and I'd be honored for it. And I hope that you can love me and support me the same because I love you. This line is exactly what you need to say to them, whoever that person may be, if that person is unsupportive. But truly, and I really mean this, there are so many people that just never become the person that God had designed them to become, never build the business that they were supposed to build, never impact the people and change the people's lives that they're supposed to change because they let the criticism and judgment of their loved ones get into their head. The next lesson I want to teach you is this lesson called Money Loves Speed. Okay, so I remember talking to one of my college buddies I studied with, and in our freshman year in college, I remember I was telling him like, hey man, I'm studying biology, but I also really want to start a business. And he said, oh, me too. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and start doing e-commerce because dropshipping was really hot. Now, dropshipping ended up being a lot more hard than whatever all the YouTubers said about it. And I got my own issues with that. But back then, that was a business I chose. And I remember telling him, well, what business are you thinking about doing? And he said, well, I don't know. I need to do more research. I was like, all right, cool. Sophomore year goes by. Second year in school. My business has already picked up some momentum. I think I made my first $3,000, $4,000 online. And I said, hey man, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm going to keep doing it. Have you started the business yet? And it's like, no, I'm still doing research. Fast forward to senior year in college, our last year in school. I asked him, hey man, by that point, I was not doing dropshipping anymore. I was started to get into the info product, digital product space. And I asked him, hey man, how's it been? We were roommates our freshman year. And then by senior year, I remember bumping into him in the classroom in passing. It's like, dude, a long time no talk. How's it been? Did you start that business yet? And he's like, nah, man, I'm still doing research. And that, I need to think about it, is something that broke my heart because to this day, I still catch up on just a texting basis on iPhone, iMessage, the blue messages from time to time. And this is not a slight to him. But every time I talk to him, it's still the same thing. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. For Christians, if you're a person of faith, I need to pray on it. That's basically their exact way of saying it because they like to externalize as Christians. You like to put it, blame it on someone else, and they lift their hands. Oh, I surrender to God. When you realize that God has already given you a decision and blessed you with the brain so you can make a decision yourself, right? I don't know who it is, but someone needs to hear that today. But the problem with these statements is that if you constantly need to think and think and think, you're violating one of the greatest principles to achieving success, not just in business, but in life, which is that money loves speed, success loves speed. And that gathering information because you need to think about it, information, listen closely, information without implementation is absolutely meaningless. The more information you gather, the more books you read, the more research you do, the more Googling, the more YouTube videos you watch, is that going to get you anywhere in life? Is that going to move forward and get that business started? Is that going to launch the website, the funnel? Is that actually going to make you your first dollar, make you your first sale? Absolutely not. You're not going to make any money from just thinking. You move. You have to take action. That's how you make money. And so therefore, thinking about it is the most unproductive, expensive activity you can do because it is costing you money, dollars, because you're not taking the action. So please do not say to yourself, I need to pray on this. I need to think about this. Because at the end of the day, and especially for Christians, God has given you a burning desire in your heart to want to do this in the first place. As you're watching this video, you're like, of course, Richard, I want to build a business. Exactly. You think that was just a thought that was planted there and manifested out of nowhere? No, God already put that on your heart. So if God put that in your heart, that's the gut feeling that you have right now, that you were set aside for a different pathway, set aside from something that's going to change your family's trajectory forever, then why do you need to continue to pray on it when God has already given you permission and the green light to move forward? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So move forward and don't let thinking about it, praying about it, stop you. Let's go to the next thing. I'm not an expert, okay? Now I'll tell you, I cannot tell you how many people that I've met that are beginners. A mom, a 9-to-5er, a college student who's like, but who would listen to me? Who would trust me? And we have this imposter syndrome where we don't think we're good enough. Well, first off, I'm just going to overcome this immediately. In the next 2 or 3 videos, I'm actually going to teach you inside of this free course exactly how you can promote other companies' products, other people's products. And by the way, this is something that you're already doing on a day-to-day basis, right? By the way, if you have an iPhone and you tell your friend, oh my gosh, I love this iPhone, you should stop using Android because Apple is so much better. If you take this supplement, maybe you take a protein powder that you really, really like, and you tell your friend, oh my gosh, you got to try this protein powder, it's good. If you recommend a clothing brand, oh my gosh, that t-shirt brand, it's awesome. I feel so good at the gym when I use it. By the way, when they buy the product because of your recommendation, you're already doing this on a daily basis. That's called something called digital arbitrage. I'm not going to get into it right now, but you don't need to be an expert. You can promote other companies' products and they're willing to pay you 20, 30, some even 50% commissions. And I know people, and I have mentees that have built $5,000, $10,000 a month in income businesses specifically using this framework. So if you're thinking I need to be an expert because I need to sell my own thing, you actually don't even need to make your own product. But the biggest thing about not being an expert is you're just using that as an excuse for why you don't want to get started, when deep down you know that there's people having success with it, you're just not taking action. So I'm not an expert. You don't need to be an expert. You absolutely don't need to be an expert. And if you realize that you tell your friends about the iPhone that you like, and that influences their purchase decision of wanting to buy more Apple products, then therefore you're already doing this. Cool. The next lesson here is you don't lack resources, you lack resourcefulness. This is a quote that I heard from Tony Robbins a couple years ago, and it changed my life forever. Because back then when I was building a dropshipping business, the strategy was you needed to spend at least $50 a day on Facebook ads to be able to have enough attention traffic to send over to your website, right? So I remember I was selling random products, fidget spinners, if you remember that, jewelry necklaces, stuff like that. But I didn't have attention, so I needed to pay for Facebook ads. Well, I told myself, okay, well, I'm a busy college student. I don't have any time. So I don't have ability during school hours to work a part-time job. So what can I do to make $50 a day? And I realized, have you ever seen those electric scooters? Bird scooters and then Lime scooters came about. And if you're in a metropolitan city, and especially in the States, you've probably seen these electric scooters. Well, it turns out these companies, I found out, will pay you $5 every single day. If you take that scooter at nighttime, you take it back home, you literally pick it up, put it in your trunk, and then drag it back home, plug it in and charge it. And then in the early morning, if you go and leave the scooters and drop them off at these designated locations that the phone app will tell you where to drop them off, they would pay you $5 per scooter. And so do you know what I did? I said, okay, cool. If I can pick up these 10 scooters every single night and then drop them off in the morning, I'll make my $50. And that's exactly what I did for 6 months straight. I had no nighttime life. I literally, 8 p.m., I would go back home, I would start running around campus and start picking up these scooters. I had old 2010 Honda. I put them in the car, drove them to my apartment parking garage, and then I would plug them in down there. And then you know what I did every single morning? I would wake up in the morning, I would go out at 5 a.m. and I would take 30 minutes, and I'd go drop them off in the scooter. Rain or shine, didn't matter how cold it was outside, that's what I did. And that's how I made my $50 a day. Now, so many of my students would say, well, I'm so busy with school, I have to put school as my number one priority. And I don't think anyone would criticize them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But I didn't make that excuse. I said, I need to get resourceful. I need to find a way, use my brain, critical thinking, and find a way to make $50 a day. And that's exactly what I did. My friend, you have a phone, you have a car, you should be doing Uber if you need to make an extra $1,000 a month. I'll give you another example. John Franco, he was a mentee of mine who we ended up, it was crazy. I'll tell you the end outcome and then we'll reverse engineer. He ended up going from zero to over $120,000 with his digital product business. And he was 22 and a half. Right before he turned 23, he hit $120,000 a month in his business. And when he first talked to us and consulted with the firm. Back then, I took a call with them, and I told them about the mentorship. And I said, hey, man, it's a minimum $5,000 to work with our team. Where I'm going to be working with you one-on-one. I'm going to coach you on building this digital product business. And he didn't have the money. And he said, Richard, I don't have the money right now. Give me a week. I'm coming back, and I'm going to give you the money. And I was like, probably just a tire kick here, whatever. It is what it is. And I was like, hey, man, just go watch my YouTube videos. Really good value. But you know what he did? He literally sold his camera. He sold his PlayStation 4 to his college roommates because he was a college student. And then he borrowed $2,000 from his mom because he convinced her to give him a loan. Not a gift, a loan. He was going to pay it back. And that's how he pulled together $5,000. And then he joined the mentorship the week after. And I was very impressed. I was like, wow, this kid really wants it. His first 30 days launching his digital product business, he did $9,000 in cash collected. Paid back his mom in 30 days, kept the rest. And he went from $9,000 that month to 4 months later, $120,000 in sales per month at the age of 22. By that point, he gained the full support of his parents, and then he also dropped out of college. And then by the age of 23, he scaled that business up to about $180,000, $200,000 a month. That happened because he sold his PlayStation 4 and his camera, and he did not make an excuse and say, well, I'm a broke college student and I got to focus on school and I can't work a part-time job because I have no time. Do you see the difference now? I give an example of my own life and I give an example of my students' lives. This is what being a successful high performer is. You don't make excuses, you get resourceful. By the way, if you want this Google Doc, just go to my Instagram right now. You see it right here. And then just drop me follow and then message me with one word, DOC, doc. If you send that over to me, I'll get you over this Google Doc right away. The next lesson I want to teach you is called overwhelm equals growth. Okay. So I love the example of when we go to the gym, let's say you really want to get in shape and you want to get into shape and you hire a personal trainer. Now the personal trainer starts pushing you. You're working out of the gym. He's pushing you. He's making you sweat. You're getting tired. You're huffing and puffing. And then the next day you get super sore when you wake up, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Do you tell yourself, oh, that was a terrible workout? The personal trainer, it's not working. No, you tell yourself, of course it's working. I'm grateful that I'm sore. I'm grateful that I'm huffing and puffing, that I'm tired. Why? Because the fact that your body is breaking down and the fact that you're getting tired, your body, listen closely, is getting overwhelmed. That means that you're growing. It means you're getting in better shape. But then when it comes to business, all of a sudden, when our brain, because in business, we're not using our physical body. Am I working out? No, you're sitting at your computer and you're working. You're working on your phone, right? So it's not your body that gets tired, it's your brain that gets tired. But when your brain gets tired, all of a sudden what happens? We go, oh man, but I guess it just wasn't for me. I guess being overwhelmed, it's just, man, I shouldn't feel overwhelmed. Or the Christians, I love the people of faith. Oh, I guess it wasn't God's path for my life, right? And they externalize it to an external party, God, right? They blame it on God. No, my friend, it's the same as a gym. If you're uncomfortable physically in the gym, it means you're growing. If you're uncomfortable mentally in business, it means you're growing. So if you're scared right now, if your hands are shaking before you start that business, if you feel uncomfortable, well then get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because discomfort, fear, overwhelm, all of these things are synonymous with growth. And you have to remember, F is F, that fear is the path to freedom. You got that? The first F is what leads to the second F. Fear is the path to freedom. The next one here is, if you really want to find success in business, you need to find a one-on-one mentor. Okay, I'll give you a couple examples. If you go to the gym, using that example, you can go into a group class, right? Where there's a personal trainer leading a group, maybe in like the gym floor, and there's like 20 students. And can you get in shape? Yeah, absolutely. That person's probably going to play some music. You guys are going to do workouts together. Or you could just find a one-on-one personal trainer, and that one-on-one personal trainer is going to hold you accountable, is going to push you, and is going to really, really make sure that you get to where you want to go, right? Well, which one do you think you're going to move faster? Of course, the one-on-one accountability, because that person knows your personal struggles. That person knows that your workout plan is going to be different from 20 other people that he's working with. That person is going to also have a personal relationship with you. So if you show up to the gym one day and you're feeling a little demotivated, or maybe you had some disagreement with a loved one, or you're having some mindset issues, or you're thinking about quitting, that one-on-one mentor, coach, personal trainer is going to hold you accountable. Do you know how I learned Spanish? So many of you guys might not know this. I'm 100% fluent. Puedo hablar 100% contigo en español. Aprendí mi español desde cero a fluente en 8 meses en Argentina. What the heck did I just say? I said, I have learned Spanish completely fluently from 0 to 8 months. Do you know how I did that? I found a one-on-one mentor on Zoom, literally. I did Zoom classes on call. She shared screen on a Google document exactly like like we're learning here. And I did classes with her talking back and forth. And it was one-on-one. I didn't want to do a group class. I'm also a private pilot, right? So I got my pilot license while running a business, a multiple eight-figure business. I got my pilot license within 9 months, which is insane because most people struggle to do that within years. I did that because why? I had a one-on-one pilot instructor, believe it or not. It's the same thing in business. If you want to go fast in anything, you find a one-on-one mentor. Don't buy a course. Don't watch YouTube videos. Go through an actual personalized plan with a mentor that can hold you accountable. That's a really, really big deal, okay? And then, of course, the next one here is going to be, there's no guarantees in life, okay? So when I went to UCLA, my family and I, we went into about $120,000 into student debt. Do you know what I got at the end of it? I got a piece of paper that said a biology degree, congratulations. And was there any guarantee that I was going to find a job? Did UCLA say to me, oh, by the way, Richard, if you can't find a job, don't worry, we're just going to refund you all 120 grand, by the way. Don't worry about it. We'll give you your money back. Did they say that? Did they say, oh, by the way, if you don't find a job, then you can just repeat college. You can just keep hanging out and going to classes for free for another year until you find a job. Did they say that? No, absolutely not. One of my best friends paid out-of-state tuition. Okay, so he was living in Oregon, UCLA's in California. So he had to pay an out-of-state fee of $56,000 a year. So he invested over $200K. Crazy story. First year out of college with a biology degree, he didn't get accepted into medical school, and so he had to take a gap year. And do you know where he worked that year in his gap year? Taco Bell, making $11 an hour, minimum wage. A kid who just spent $224,000 drowning in student loans is working a minimum wage job because he couldn't find a job somewhere else, and he literally did not have any kind of guarantee. And so the reason why I mention this is because if traditional universities don't have guaranteed, then why do you think in business you should have a guarantee? There's no guarantees in life. There's no free lunch in this world. If you need a guarantee, you're never going to succeed in business because you're not cut out for business. It's all on you. And at the end of the day, the coolest thing that I really appreciate about university is it taught me the skill set. It's my fault. It's my responsibility. Because I had friends that worked really hard in school like I did. And guess what? Some of them found great jobs out of school. Awesome. I had other friends that went to parties, made terrible decisions, got drunk all the time, and they didn't even finish school. They dropped out. Does that have anything to do with the university? No, same school, same education, same degree. It had everything to do with the student. And that takes me to this lesson, which is extreme ownership. It's all your fault, man. My friend, you have to take full ownership and responsibility of your life. It's no one else's. And I get it. If you've had a really difficult life, okay, if you had abusive parents, if you grew up in poverty, if you grew up in just a terrible neighborhood, if you're a refugee and you had to flee from a country that was in war and you're in danger for your life, it's not your fault, okay? I'm not going to blame you and say, oh, it's your fault you did. No, it's of course not your fault, okay? It's not your fault that you had a difficult upbringing, but it is your responsibility. You got that? That's something you're going to want to rewind and write that down. Because the thing is, if you ever say and hear the line, even if you hear someone else say it, well, I can't do this, or I'm in a bad situation and it's because of, and they externalize it because of external party, you have instantly subscribed to the fact that you're a victim. And you have lost the power and the control to be able to actually do something with your life. You've destroyed your own life by doing that statement. And so moms, I get the fact that you might have 3 kids. I get the fact that you might be a single mom because your husband cheated on you and is a terrible person and he left your family. 9-to-5ers, I get the fact that you might have to work a 9-to-5 job right now that you absolutely hate because it's what pays the bills and it's what allows for you to put food on the table for your kids. I get that. And so it's not your fault that right now you're in the situation that you have, but it's your responsibility. You have to take extreme ownership. And so if you start to make excuses within your life, saying stuff like, well, I'm in a bad situation because it was influenced by something else, you have to change that to, I don't care about the situation that I'm in. I'm in full control. And here's the language pattern. I'm in full control of changing into a good situation, and it's 100% whose responsibility? My responsibility, no one else's. I choose to blame no one else but me. These mindset shifts are valuable, but if you want to learn the exact productivity hack of how I master and manage my time, and it's made me over $20 million, check out this video here right now.